All right, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming on Thursday night. This is Atsushi. Welcome. Hello. Let me check the audio first. That's good. Perfect. Everything's good. All right. Today is another Thursday. This is the live streaming where I share the unedited version of my stitching while talking about Sashiko. I brought the topic 4 kinds of I like Sashiko. Yes, I will talk about that. At the same time, if you have the request for me to talk about Sashiko, I am happy to talk about it. It's not just the webinar or tutorials or online class, so please refrain the question about technique, some specific questions. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to help over the online class. All right, I'll probably stitch on the denim today, if I can. I will try to stitch on the denim, but sometimes it requires a little more thinking to stitch on the denim, so I might switch to the another fabric. All right, I will switch the camera. Just a second. All right. Hello, レイコさんありがとうございます。Hello, hello. Hello. Welcome back to the Sashiko Live Streaming. Oh, I forgot something very important. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just talk about it. One thing. So next week, next Thursday, after this live streaming, we will have the Sashiko Gathering, online Sashiko Gathering, where we can get together on the Zoom and we kind of chit chat. It's not like one direction. It's more like, gathering. In order to get a link to join that, please register yourself on the website pramstudio.com, which is on the description area as well. I should have. You can register here, or you can purchase the ticket from my website, which is free. I did not put the link here, so I will make sure to put the link here as well. Okay. But that's next week, not today. And you will receive the link probably the day before that or right after this live streaming. Not today, but the next Thursday. So that's that. Everything else is... I think everything else is that. Hello. So that's the next week, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I haven't figured that another gathering, but I will keep you updated everything here and there. Hello, welcome back. I will talk about... Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Welcome. Today everybody's here. Hello. Welcome back. It's a little different today than, I have here that I usually work on. So if I cannot talk, if I have to focus on stitching more than talking, then I will probably move to there. But as of now, it's kind of only straight, so probably okay. Which, let's see. I cannot believe that it's almost the end of the year. I'll be quite busy starting from next month until April, I guess. The end of the April, I will be a little bit more free, but starting this week, next week, I mean, even this week is too. It's quite packed. My schedule will be very packed. I think this week I was feeling kind of under the weather last week and until today, but I think that's the last week I could actually feel under the weather. So everything else is a little. The other weeks are a little. How can I say? It's not busy. It is busy, but kind of packed. But I will keep doing the live streaming as well. It's a different. I just don't have the time to do something very big. So it's really good that I have things to do, but until next April. Like if I can just, do the workshop and then I don't do just the workshop. When I do the workshop, I need that time before and after, at least a month, like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, at least. That's like a minimum. So for that, I think I cannot have more than, well, technically speaking, more than 12. I cannot have more than 12 workshops per year, which I don't even have that. I have one in February, one in March. No, one in the end of the March. And that's about it. And that's all good. As much as I would like to spread this, philosophy and technique and everything, but I would like to be careful who I'm passing down. Are you getting ready for the Japan trip? I'm sorry I won't be able to join you. We scheduled our trip for fall to Hokkaido before you announce your trip. Yes, it is. Are you going to Hokkaido this fall? No, next fall probably. Yes, the Japan trip is happening. You can, Jade, if you if you fill out the Google form, I don't think this will be the last trip. This is my first trip to register, but not register. This is my first trip to sort of arrange. But if you want to be on the waiting list, I have pretty long waiting list right now, and I guess nobody's kind of dropping. So waiting list is gonna be the list for the next trip. I won't make it public until. I mean, let me rephrase it. I will send the invitations or announcement first to those people on the list first, regardless. So if you are interested in the Japan trip after 2023 spring, please fill out the Google form so you can get the information earlier than anybody else. Yeah, it's gonna be one interesting tour. It is very specifically for those who like Sashiko or textile, but Sashiko. If the purpose of coming to that tour is just sightseeing, that's a little bit. Some might get disappointed, but if the goal is to stitch or learn Sashiko, then this is probably. Well, I mean, there's a reason I arrange it. It's not for the. I don't sell it for the general public. It's only for the friends that I know already. So yeah, it is my goal to have it, every year at some point. Ideally spring, but that's because of my the spring festival in my hometown. But yeah, it's gonna be one interesting time in Japan. Let's see. Yeah, so today I would like to talk about, again, the same question again. I want to, it's exactly the same question as always ask, what do you like about Sashiko? And it's probably very important to think when we talk about cultural perspective of Sashiko. And it's not accusation, or it's not even criticizing or judging. It's purely the curiosity. I can rephrase this question, why do you call it Sashiko? But that question can be quite aggressive if, one tend to be defensive. I don't want that to happen. So my question rephrased, what do you like about Sashiko? And this question can bring a lot of information about what they know and what they don't know about Sashiko. So not knowing is perfectly fine. Like, I don't know anything about Sashiko is a very perfect sentence, because they can learn. You can learn about it. But this question, what do you like about Sashiko, can define the Sashiko we are trying to introduce in a better way. The better means like not the right or wrong. It's more like not efficient, but more not a precise or accurate, more content, more like a rich way to introduce that. So what do you like about Sashiko is the question I keep asking to the world. And there are, like, in a big category, I believe that there are 4 kinds of I like Sashiko. And depends on what kind of like you have. I think we can talk about not a cultural appropriation, but how we can be careful about those issues. And when we can care about those, like when we know where we stand, like let's say I have a 4 category of I like Sashiko, and if you know where you belong to, which category you're in, I think we can be more careful about that. And some category doesn't require any even responsibility for that purpose. So what do you like about Sashiko? That's the question. And I will talk about the 4 categories. Let me think. So there should be the 4 category, which can be very much, can be break down into very small pieces. The big 4 category, one of the first category is that those category who likes Sashiko as the doing Sashiko, like practice, like they do the practice of Sashiko itself. They like Sashiko itself. That's the first category. The second category is that those who likes the outcome or result of Sashiko. So first category is just I like stitching. The second category is I like this pin cushion because that was made by Sashiko. Those 2 categories are quite authentic because they like what Sashiko can do or cannot do. So if of course there's a level, like degree of not knowing and knowing, so it is kind of dangerous. It is still dangerous to say that I know everything about Sashiko, even if one is in those 2 categories. I do not worry about those people who are doing the Sashiko for the purpose of 1 or 2. Ideally, I want them to like 2 of those together simultaneously, but many people like Sashiko as the practice. If you want to know about Sashiko deeper level, then probably that can be category of 1. If you want to learn about design, that's probably category of 2, I guess. And I've heard those category called process-oriented and project-oriented. Process likes the process. Project-oriented like having the final object, but might or might not like doing the process. Yes, so both of them are fine for me, to be honest. Ideally, I hope that those people who like Sashiko, who teaches Sashiko, likes the stitching itself as well, but it's not really the must. If one likes the Sashiko as the item, as the project, I don't doubt that. I don't have any problems. They say they like Sashiko. So those are 2 categories that they are probably liking Sashiko as the culture. So I'm not really worried about them. The latter 2 categories, 3 and 4, those are the people I have to probably fight against or speak up against. And the third category is those who say that I like Sashiko because of the benefit that Sashiko brings. Well, there are probably a lot of people like that. I like the word Sashiko because that brings a lot of followers, a lot of viewers, a lot of students, a lot of money for that matter. Money or attention, fame, you name it. So it does not have to be Sashiko, but they like things that they can get by doing Sashiko. So that's one category, which is probably very popular right now. They don't have to know anything about Sashiko, but they like the fact that they can get something by calling it. That's probably the category of cultural appropriation, if I can define that. But some people don't really. They say that they don't care about those things at all. Like, if they declare that they're using the word of Sashiko for their money or fame, I don't consider it as the bad thing. They're being honest. So that's not a problem per se. The problem itself is more like, although they are using the word Sashiko, they kind of try to define that what they're saying is correct and everything else is wrong. By doing that, the culture might be completely different form, and that's the problem. So that's the third category. And the fourth category is not even a thing that they can get out of it. Sometimes this also might be a big category, but they are the category of people who likes themselves doing Sashiko. The fact that they are doing stitching for the purpose of something else, such as sustainability, slow fashion, slow stitching, Zen, meditative, what else? You name it. Wabi-sabi stitching. You like those names define what they do. And even without those reward or returns, they like themselves for doing that, for being that. So the third and fourth category might really be similar as the first and second categories are kind of similar. I don't really have a problem of those first and second. The problem I have is the third and fourth people are saying that they know about Sashiko, like a whole picture of that. Like if they are learning, I don't mind that, but if they think that they know enough to teach, then that's gonna be a problem. Not going to be, that has been a problem. So like I like Sashiko is a very, very bigger, broader term. And it's important to see what we like in that. And again, everybody here is probably one or two. Hopefully both. If you do this stitching itself, probably you like one as well and two. If you are new here, Probably you like the outcome of Sashiko, or idea of Sashiko for that matter. So there are specific reasons that we call it Sashiko, and it does not have to be. Like, if you cannot explain why you call it Sashiko, then it might be a good idea to just stop and think why. And that's gonna lead to the question saying, like, why do you call it Sashiko? But don't take it as the accusation. I just like you to think about it, because when the people stop thinking about those things, then that can be quite dangerous. If they stop thinking, that can contribute to those who are in the category of 3 or 4, directly or indirectly, but they encourage them to do whatever they want. So instead of stop thinking about those things, I want you to think, like, why do I call this one Sashiko? And again, you can call your stitching Sashiko as much as you want if you want to. I just want you to think why you do that. And the reason can be found in my writing or videos. It does not have to be right or wrong. It's just I want you to think about it first. I like the stitching the outcome. So it's like 1 and 2, right? I like the aspect that I am just stitching, trying to use the needle. That's probably the category 1. So many people here, not many, almost every person here, I don't know everybody here, but many people here are either 1 or 2. Otherwise, they won't come to this live streaming. I mean, it's a waste of time to come here because they don't like what I do, because they like what Sashiko can bring, or Sashiko. They like the person who is doing Sashiko, which has to be themselves, not somebody else. So they don't come here, quite honestly. So it's perfectly fine to. It's my understanding of cultural appropriation. It's not like 1 or 2 or right or left, or it's really not that extreme. It's not a dualism. It's more like a degree. And one degree that I would like to explain that is those 4 categories. And if it's 1 or 2, I don't find it as a problem. If it's 3 or 4, then that's gonna be a little bit of a problem. So, and I probably keep saying this, and you're probably tired of hearing this, but I don't find that inspired as the solution to this issue. Some people try to jump onto the conclusion that, well, I am saying that it's inspired, so I'm not appropriating the culture. That's very true, and that's very considerate that they are using the word inspired. And it's, that's the sign of consideration. And if they are using the word inspired as the sign of respect, I'm okay, or even I humbly accept that. But unfortunately, there are people who use the inspired as the excuse to not to learn. And they keep saying, like, well, I'm saying it's inspired, so you have nothing to say about it. It's true, I have nothing to say about those things because it's inspired. But then I got asked a question, what are you inspired by? I mean, sorry, not you. What are they inspired by? Because it does not... inspired doesn't give them the right to ignore everything. Like, I cannot make whatever I want by saying sushi inspired or hamburger inspired. It has to have some relationship, some links to that. And unfortunately, I mean, again, keep on saying unfortunately, but I see many Sashiko inspired stitching without even explaining what they're inspired by. And then this discussion will probably lead us to the, well, I'm inspired by the design. I am inspired by design. Well, that's not really Sashiko then. If they are inspired by design, there's no such a thing as Sashiko design, so they're not inspired by Sashiko. They are inspired by the design that we use often, which is Japanese geometric patterns, so it's not Sashiko, right? So, again, I encourage. What I'm trying to do is to encourage people to think before they jump to the conclusion. What are they? So if they can explain what they're inspired by, there's no need to say inspired. They can just call it Sashiko because they know why they are inspired. So inspired is very, to be honest, like honestly, personally speaking, I do not like it because it makes more dull. It makes more kind of vague that if they understand it or not. And some people, or probably many people, use the inspired as the excuse to not to learn, excuse to validate what they do. So instead, I want them to call it Sashiko. By the way, those people who say Sashiko inspired often get very defensive too. That's how I get into trouble. So, like, don't call it inspired. Then. You know, was it 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, I had a. I wasn't upset on the comment, but I received some nasty comments and. She or they defined me as the angry person, but well, things happens. Right now I'm stitching a 1 centimeter grid. Reading more books and article from you and the many books with Sashiko quality from my local library. Well, I mean, that can be, but I don't do 1 centimeter. So it's the preference, but, well, it's a preference. So keep learning is the key. And as long as one is keep learning, like if one starts saying or even teaching that using the grid of 1 centimeter is the right answer, then that's a very big issue, right? But I believe that, Julie, you're not gonna teach it to the general public. You can of course share it with your friends or family or anybody locally, but not to the general public as if what you do is the answer. Unless you do that, I think that's perfectly fine. Personally, I don't do the 1 centimeter. I like 5 millimeter or even 4 millimeter, but there's no answer for that grid. I mean, not like 10 centimeter grid. That's. I think the maximum was 1.5. Interestingly, there was a discussion last week in Japanese live streaming. I think she said that there was a comment that 1.5 is the maximum because not because of the definition, but because of the practical reasons. But yeah, so I probably keep saying, and I probably said it too much by now, but all the things come to the issue of teaching. I'm getting very, very clear about that. I don't have any problems with anybody who is doing Sashiko for their fun. I mean, of course, it would be great if they can learn more, but it doesn't really. I don't get bothered much. I mean, do I get bothered? I might. If I have to keep looking at those things, I probably have to, rest myself or control myself, because I have a preference. I have a really strong preference. But I don't think it's urgent. And it's more like sacred. I would like to respect their personal space. So they can call it Sashiko if they want to. They don't want to call it Sashiko. That's perfectly fine. I have nowhere to comment on those things. It's their world. Personally, within the small friendship, family, go ahead. Again, that'd be great if they can learn more, but for that, I think they can do whatever they want. I don't like this word, but whatever is okay in that small world, because that's theirs, and I like to respect that. When it comes to telling to others in public, especially as the like spreading the word itself is one scary thing, but teaching is another thing, right? Teaching comes with the responsibility, and I hope not people watching it, but publishing is also one thing. I've been talking to the publishers several times, but publishing, like making a book, writing published, means that we automatically or we naturally understand that everything written on the book is right. We like there might be something which, well, after the internet, we know that everything might not be correct, even on the book, even after the publisher's process of editing, things may not be correct or right, or accurate, or enough. We can find everything now on the internet, so we can probably check that. But we still believe that everything written on the book is answer, at least something very validated. That's the case. If one reader is very acknowledging the difference, then yes, any books can be very profitable. Any books can be very good resources to add to the basic knowledge or another knowledge that they can get. But if they believe one book or several books blindly, then that becomes the rules, or that becomes the answer for them. And that's the problem. That discourage them to learn. That will encourage them to stop learning. And that's a scary thing, and that's why I cannot publish a book. At least not from the publisher, because they don't like that, what I'm saying. Hey, yay. It's a long way to go. Well, I probably have to publish it. Like, myself. Self-publish might be the way to go. You are Japanese, you come from a family whose experience of Sashiko is generational. I don't understand people unless from that world who think they know better. Very entitled attitude. I think it depends on the book. I've reading books that tells a story and teach you. Yes, Jade is really right. There gotta be some needs for that, right? Like the stories. But at this moment, the books for Sashiko is very much focused on how to. That's a good point. Sharon brought a good point. Yeah, knitting does not running into the issue of cultural appropriation too yet. That's a very good point. Am I the one who brought the cultural appropriation into Sashiko? Am I? I don't think so. I did not even know the word until recently. Eh? No, I keep using that word, and I do not know what the cultural appropriation is at this moment. I'm still learning. But there's many cases. I paused a day, long caption, and not recently, last couple of months, or at least 2022, it has been very peaceful. I mean, here and there, I have some nasty comments, but in 2019 was very bad. It was like hell, if somebody remembers that. And in those in those comments, I explained my feedback or comments or emotions, right? And there are many generous people who gave me the explanation saying that, well, what you are feeling right now is this, which has been already defined in the different context. And like gaslighting, microaggression. Oh, I cannot think of any other word at this moment. Well, part of that was cultural appropriation. So I don't really know. Sashiko is gonna be fall into the word cultural appropriation. But if the culture becomes completely different things by ignorance, then that can be, at least that's not sustainable as the culture. And it's very sad. I cannot let that happen. And that's what's happening right now. So I like to make sure to leave all the stories so that culture can be sustainable. So it's maybe it's interesting, but Candida brought a very good point. Like I do not consider myself as authentic because I don't know really what authentic is, but it is true that I'm from the Sashiko family, so for that I can be authentic. At least I'm Japanese, right? I can speak Japanese, and I have a Japanese citizenship. Like I have a Japanese passport. That's the fact. But yes, there are still people who try to teach me Sashiko. They try to correct my Sashiko based on what they learn in English. So it is very interesting to see that. I've never seen those in Japan. There are many, I wouldn't say many, but there are many Sashiko professional, I would say professional Sashiko practitioner or experienced Sashiko artisans who has been doing Sashiko in Japan. And they can speak English, but they don't really speak up because the more they learn about that kind of things, they kind of try to hesitate. I keep asking them to write a book, but they say like, well, I'm not. We're waiting for somebody who can do that, but I'm not Japanese, so we shouldn't do that. The more they know, the less they are confident. That's very interesting. Well, but that's what they said. But... Jade, this is true, but there are books on specific culture needing pattern, but if you tell a story of Sashiko in Japanese context, that become educational as well. Yeah, so that's something. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate thing, but there are not that many people who can share the story of Sashiko too. It's kind of dying or dead. Let's see. The Japan trip is gonna be the time for us to kind of dig out. So let's see what's gonna happen. But it's really, at least it's dying. Like I should have done that 20 years ago, but 20 years ago I was just right after the high school. So 20 years ago was the time I was supposed to do exactly what I'm doing right now, but things are not that easy. Life is not that easy. Well, it wouldn't be easy, but it would be more. I could see more future probably back then if I were like this. What do the Japanese people on the live streaming think of non-Japanese doing Sashiko? That's a good question. I do not really ask them much that question. But I think they feel the same way as I do. They are happy that there are many non-Japanese people doing Sashiko stitching. But they don't like the fact that Sashiko has maybe not a has. Sashiko may become something else. And of course, there are preference. They have their own preference, and some people like this one, and the other people like that. But they would like to meet those who cares about Sashiko as the culture. They can learn from them too, each other. Like they can learn each other as I learn each other too. But I think they do not like those who think they know everything about Sashiko, because they don't. Even Japanese think that they don't know about Sashiko. Well, that's why they come to my live streaming. Well, not that's why they come to hang out. But that's the reason, the motivation behind it. There are more than a dozen books in the Hilo library on with the subject. I just picked up more yesterday, and they are all different. I have enjoyed them all. Yeah. I mean, as I keep saying, there's no wrong book, or there's nothing wrong in what they say. It's just not enough. And not knowing what is missing is quite dangerous in terms of culture. So that's only things, as you know. Everything else is sort of preference. Preference is good. And see, that bring back to the teacher thing. Publication is one thing, but teaching is more like ongoing. And as long as I want them to know what they don't know. I know what I know and what I don't know. And if I start teaching Kogin, that's a very bad red flag. It's very red flag. So that's be careful. Like I might need some finance to buy tomorrow's. I would probably be honest and tell you first, but that's a kind of red flag that culture is really, really dying. I don't think, I might publish a book about Sashiko, and I don't think, well, nobody can do that quick. This is like one thing about it's really not something it should be that quick. I probably explained this one before, but there's the word artisan, right? Like artisan. I often use that word because I think it's very similar to what we use as the shokunin. Shokunin is the craftsman. I wrote this on the Patreon webpage for sure, but I don't think that shokunin and artisans are equal. Specifically, they're very common, but that's not the same. There's one thing defines one shokunin in Japan. Like the artisans, Japanese shokunin artisans, when we define if he or she is the shokunin or not, there's one thing we can do that. And I have never done research like professionally, but I think most part of the shokunin in Japan, the artisans, will fall into this category, and that's why they are considered as the shokunin artisans. But they are one thing very much in common. What is that? One thing very common. Not a common, like absolutely common. Oh, Reiko-san said that, she's Japanese coming to the Japanese live streaming. She thinks and welcome and happy and great. So that's our honest feeling. So we're not really, you know, we don't really consider everybody as an enemy. And I don't think that. I'm not fighting against to anybody. I'm just saying, again, information introduced in English is not wrong. There's no information wrong. It's just not enough to say that they know everything. But teaching is like that too. If they teach that they don't know anything, that's perfectly fine. But as long as I know, that's not how it's taught. So one common things that all Japanese shokunin has is the lifetime commitment. Lifetime commitment is the something I can distinguish between the hobby and also the professional artisan. So the sushi shokunin, sushi chef, does not become the hamburger owner or other like French restaurant chef next day. I mean, of course, they can change the career at some point, but if they change the career, they will move to that career, and they will not probably teach sushi if they change their career. So it's not wrong to change the career or teach something specific, but that's kind of it's not considered as the noble thing. So, for example, I will meet the kogin sashi teacher in Tokyo, who has been doing kogin for like 60 years or something like that. And I introduced myself, and she said that she doesn't teach Sashiko. But she said, like, well, if you do Sashiko, you should be able to enjoy kogin better, easier. That's what she said. But she specifically told me that she does not do Sashiko and she does not teach Sashiko neither too. And that's how different what I do and what kogin is. And it's not that difficult to distinguish kogin and Sashiko. It's both are stitching, but you probably know the difference. It's completely different, two different things. So teaching both can require quite big bowl. At least I can't. I wasn't sure if I should be teaching. I should be good enough to teach this one. But I, have that much experience, and not even if, I may practice Sashiko for 30 years. I mean, kogin from now 30 years. I don't know if I would teach kogin though. It does not go to the depth of my Sashiko that I'm teaching right now, so I don't think I can feel comfortable about it. It's my thing right now, but I will never teach kogin next year or 2 years from now. Probably not. For almost forever. Because that's not what I do. I'm committing my life to this. It might be boring, but that's what they do. That's what shokunin is. And one doesn't have to be shokunin to teach, of course not, but that's the sort of the honor or validation or categorization or It's honor. It's honor to have that, and then life commitment is very, very big. Not a big, very common thing. Like if one decided to be the Japanese sword blacksmith, they will be the blacksmith 10 years from now too. Probably 20 years from now too. 30 years from now, yes. They don't change that career so here and there often. And that's what defined us as teacher or shokunin. And that's what I value too. So I just don't understand. I just don't understand how they do that. At the same time, I learned that it's not okay to be quiet about it too. Because they probably don't know what they're teaching too. So let's see how it's gonna be in the future. But that's the full category of likes. Well, today is a nice summary. See, when I prepare, I can do better job, right? I prepared for today. Like last week or 2 weeks ago, it was horrible. Not horrible, but it was probably fun. But I didn't know what I was talking about. So I a little bit prepared today, and it went okay. So okay, but this is not the message you're not the one who I need to deliver this message, so life isn't that easy, but you will share this information to somebody else, and one day this story will be somewhere. Oh, excuse me, somewhere. So the message I can send, the message I can share for the people who are watching this is please enjoy it as much as you want. Don't worry about it too much. If you worry, that's enough. If you worry, don't worry. If you don't worry, then please do worry. If you worry about it, then don't worry about it. If you do not worry about it, if you're confident that you don't worry about it, then please worry about it a little bit. So don't worry. That's the sort of conclusion for now. I think it's not that far from my actual final conclusion. If my goal was to protect, I wouldn't be just stitching in front of the camera. It's not my goal to just protect and keep it secret. No, it's not that. I just wanted to leave it as is. Not as is, with the reasonable changes. It has to change. The culture will change and it has to be different. But if that's gonna be the change, I want that change to be reasonable. Wow. It's not easy though. It's not easy. Those people, well, I mean, the one I cannot deliver the message, they decide to not listen. So it's almost impossible to deliver the message to those who decided to not listen. If you have any idea how to do it, please let me know, but I don't know how to do those things. Just a second. I need to have a closer look here. I cut the wrong place. I wasn't gonna cut the thread. Where is that? Buddy? What the heck is going on? those are the mistakes. Well, it's not even a mistake, but Ali, this one is off. Oh, this one can go. I think I fixed it. Okay. The problem of me preparing the subject is that when I'm done, I don't have anything to talk about. So when I don't plan, I can kind of, prolong that conversation. But when I plan, at the end of those conversation, I have I feel like I completed it. So I feel satisfied. And as a result, well, that can be done today. But I'll probably make it done today. I still in the recovery of, I don't know what's going on, but I was feeling under the weather a little bit. So it's good that I will take a little rest as well. I haven't, Jade brought up the good intention. I have not announced the Japan trip on the Instagram, which has probably the biggest audience. I have shared that on my website and on my newsletter, but I have not introduced that. So this might be the first time for you to hear that. All the seats are filled, and there are quite long waiting list. So it's most likely that you are not gonna be part of it at this moment, if you didn't know that until today. But I do not want to. This is my first time to sort of bring my friends to Japan. I don't want to make it last. I don't want to make it last time. So if you can go to the Google Doc, which I will try to put the link somewhere on this description, or just go to upcyclestitches.com, and then you can find the link to that. Will you be adding more Sashiko patterns on fabric to your website? Yes, probably yeah, I think we are. It does not come to the US much, but I think it's not that big of a deal to send it to Hong Kong or England or Europe. If you have any specific fabric that you are thinking of, let me know. If it's the matter of just restocking it, I may be able to do that for you specifically, because I don't have it here, but I might have it in Japan. If you're asking something completely new, then will be yes. When? I don't know yet. Different patterns coming too. There are several patterns are coming, but they don't. It's the problem. It's the problem of. I cannot say this word. Problem. It's the problem of supply chain. I say that what I do is too late. I don't say it. Some people say that what I do is too late. And I agree and disagree simultaneously. Yes, it is too late if I expect no pain, but it's not too late to share what I do if I expect the pain. I don't mind taking that. So I don't think it's too late, but there are things that it would have much easier if I did it 20 years ago, 10 years ago. and one of them is supply chain. It's 100 times more difficult and 100 times more expensive for that matter, actually. Well, not 100 times for the pricing wise, but it was much easier to prepare everything like on time. Like if it's the matter of me working, I can speed up, I think. I can try harder, but it's not about me. This summer there was a shortage in Sashiko thread, and that was bad. That was bad. It's getting better now, but so is every kind of supplies I have is very slow. And it's good that they're slow because they're not really outsourcing it to somebody somewhere else. They're doing it within their capacity. So I'm proud of them and I'm happy for that, but it's just it would have been much easier. That's my thing. Like the time I was, I know 10 years ago, 20 years ago in this particular supply chain, right? And that was much easier. But it's difficult. It's difficult, but it's kind of too late for that. I mean, it's too late to make a living. I might be denying myself, but it might be too late to make a living out of Sashiko. Only Sashiko. Supply chain is not strong enough to sustain one life. Maybe my mother, because she does not require that much money, but not a family. It's not enough to provide a family. Not because of the amount of the work, more like because of the, again, supply chain. Supply chain is the key. If there's nothing to sell, we cannot sustain, right? As a business. So probably we shouldn't really consider this as the business, but it's the end of the store if we don't have something to sell. Yeah. And yeah, it's not that easy to. It's probably better to start looking for others, but the risk of finding others are quite big. Like, I used the Yokota Sashiko thread, right? Before the pandemic, and I had so many questions about the substitute of what the thread I use. So I use this thread, but this is not really available in the Europe. So it's available in the US and Japan, and I can ship from Japan, from US to many countries, but it's not really available in many, like it's very difficult to get it in the South America or Africa for that matter. So many people are looking for the substitute, like what is the alternative? And I kept saying there's no alternative, but that I thought that was kind of cold to just say like there's no alternative. And as the alternative, I decided to use the thread from Daruma Yokota. And as the conclusion after using that for 2 years, I can say that most of the things I teach online or in person workshop, it works on the same thread. This thread, the things that it works on this thread can be good on the Yokota's thick thread, not the thin one, thick one. So that was after 2 years. And I kind of stopped using that because I kind of prefer this one after all. So it's It's really difficult. Question for you: does real isome fabric bleed when you stitch? Real? 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 Well, we have to define what real is, but if it's 100% natural dye using the 100% Tsukumo, and all natural Tsukumo bat, no, it does not bleed. It does not bleed. As long as I know, as long as I know, it should not bleed. When it is dyed with the real 100% authentic indigo, it should not bleed. So for that, the fabric we use is not 100% indigo, which is written in the website, I believe. It's not a honizome or seizome. It's called ryodatte. Ryo means double, so we use both to stabilize that color, to mass produce, to put the price lower a little bit. It's still high, but lower. And I was given some isome fabric from a friend from one of the dye house. It really depends on what kind of process they decided to take. And it really depends on the crafter. The dye isome dye artist or dye artisan I admire or I really respect, his message is that the real isome does not bleed at all. Only things they bleed is some brown water, not the. It's not a color. It's more like a. What is that word? When you boil something, you see something floating on the on the pot. Just you know, think about boiling some pork, and then there's something coming out from that, bubbly thing. That might come out, but not the indigo color. And we have to kind of ask everybody for that. Some people say that although actual indigo dye, authentic indigo dye can bleed too. Let's see. It's another very big, deep field that I shouldn't be even talking right now. So I apologize for my. Oh, please take it my personal understanding, not the answer. Please don't take it as an answer. So it's my personal understanding with including my admiration for that specific cotton. Maybe you should offer to be an American distributor for that one. Well, that's the point. There's not enough thread and also fabric to be distributor. Like they don't make that much anymore. That's the thing. If I can have that many thread by just saying like I want to have this one, it wouldn't be this problem. Oh. That was possible. That was possible 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, yes, I would have been that. I would have used lawyers to do it, and it's gonna be much easier because it's the matter of logistics and matter of business, admin. Now it's not the matter of that. It's the matter of how it is sustainable or not. It's not really. It's barely sustainable. And then I hope things are gonna restart, catch up somehow. But it's we're at the very important corner right now. Okay, it's 10 after 10, so I will stop stitching after this thread. If you're watching this as the archive, please leave the comment if you have any questions about Sashiko cultural story, not the technique. I will be able to pick it up next week. And it's helpful for me to prepare. Oh. I stitched my finger. Stop bleeding. Stop bleeding. What else? Oh, yes, and also, if you could leave the like button, like good button, or like button on the YouTube, that'd be very much appreciated. As I keep saying every week, as much as I do not want to make enemy, it is not my intention to make, like, I don't want to be disliked. Nobody likes to be disliked. And it is not my intention to make enemy, but there are people who takes that I am their enemy. So the more I speak up, the more, both feedback I receive. So if you could give me the like button, it's gonna help me to keep the good channel health. That's another thing that YouTube cares. So that's very appreciated. And one last moment, it's got stuck here. Well, besides that, I hope you will. Well, let me finish this much thread though. It doesn't really make. So the next week, next Thursday, I will be doing the live streaming the same time, same way. After this live streaming on next week, we will have the gathering. And in order to get a link, if you're new, please go to the website Pram Studio from the description area to sign up, or I will share the link to get the ticket, free ticket, to receive the link. If you registered already for the Pram Studio, you should be able to receive the link. You will be receiving the link, so no need to register again. Sharon, will you show us the right side of the denim? Well, if it's from you, I have to, right? I wasn't planning. I was gonna take a photo tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I almost completed the back side of this denim. Almost. But so I was gonna take a photo for tomorrow, but of course, if it's the request from you, one of the reasons I'm doing is to compete with you, so of course. Well, compete with you is a little bit. I'm sorry, that's a little too. I'm not competing with you. I'm not, but I'm. I'm not competing with you. Okay, so wait for the photos, for the like a whole picture. So this is the Asanoha, this is the Hitomezashi. It's like a, another denim that I might add a little more stitches here and there, and I might add color. I don't know if you see the color here. I use several colors too, orange, yellow, blue, stuff like that. But this is the back side of the leg. And this is the right side, no, left, right leg back. So, and I'm doing the front. Front is still like this, but so I'll take a photo tomorrow, day after tomorrow, showing the whole back side. And I cannot zoom out for that. So, okay, thank you so much for watching. This is another thing, like I uploaded the photo of Natsuki's denim, right? Like I always bring that denim to my workshop and everywhere that sharing this is the that's the work that my student did. Like the Natsuki's denim as one of the denim that I did not make, but that's probably get the most attention. And every time I make a post, they get the most, reactions. And recently, I kind of started feeling kind of jealous. Well, not recently, but I always felt jealous. But I kind of wanted to make the similar one, and this one is some of the. It's not a competition. It's not. It's not a competition at all. But something that I also can do. It's stupid, but that's, that's who I am, so. All right, I will talk about that next. I will take a photo about it, and I hope you have a good night. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.